the best way to be able to systemize something and repeat it multiple times is to elevate and delegate and to build systems around it. And so forcing myself to do so 3,000 miles away, I would fly there every 3 to 4 months to build relationships, build systems in place.
Hello, you're listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Elliott. I don't know why I just made that awkward, but we'll have fun with it. Hope you guys are all doing well today. I just closed on a new real estate deal, a deal that I'm actually going to be moving into, Jennifer and I. And what's funny about this one is that we got an escrow in, I think it was June or July last year, for like a dream home, like a dream home. And I think we were just manifesting our future more than, what the bank account and our business was able to actually sustain. And so we got a little caught up, full transparency. And when you're looking at properties that are $5, $6, $7 million for a dream home, everything looks good. Everything's like, yeah, I want that. And so it was a humbling moment as we had some little obstacles with business and so forth as we were growing and scaling that we're having some issues. But with that being said, it was contingent on the sellers finding their next home, right? They were downsizing. They had their kids just kind of go to college, move out, and they're kind of, empty nesters, or I don't know, whatever the saying is, but it was just the two of them, and they're like, they travel all the time. They wanted to downsize. However, their wish list was pretty impressive. And so needless to say, nearly impossible. And they really weren't as motivated as I would have liked, but it was an off-market deal through relationships, through realtors. And so we had this locked up in contract, put 3% down. It was a lot of money that I just had kind of hostage for a while. I hate having money hostage. I love putting money to work. If you know me, you know this. But with that being said, months into it later on, I'm like, hey, this is driving me crazy having this much money tied up, and these guys keep on asking for extensions. It's okay because we're not ready to close either. However, this is going on 5-6 months. So at that point, we were able to get 2% out of our 3% back. Over $100,000. We were like, cool, that's awesome. And now I can put this to work. But then we still had like 50 something thousand that was kind of locked in here. And when we got that 2% back, Jen and I just started looking again. And at that point, we found something again right away that we were like, hey, we like this. And it actually fits our buy box, and it's a heck of a lot more affordable. And so this we can do. And so we ended up getting an escrow with that right away. It was November 25th. So right before we were literally flying out to New Jersey to be with family for Thanksgiving. And then we got an escrow. We closed December 30th. And yeah, we were able to get just only 10% down, which was awesome, with no principal and interest or principal, insurance, PMI. We didn't have any of that stuff, which was cool. And yeah, we got great rates. Everything's all hunky-dory, right? Now we are getting ready to actually do the renovation right now. Now it's, the mid or, getting closer to the end of January, and, time is ticking, right? The monthly mortgage, I think it's like $12,000 a month. It's not cheap, right? And so therefore we're like, hey, we got to start going. And usually, just full transparency, we had a lot of things going on at the end of the year. We had our annual meeting for our EOS, which our leadership team comes in. We were away in New Jersey for a week. We were away on another trip somewhere, I forget. And then we had a mastermind event in addition to all that, plus the holidays. And then we had like some moments that we needed to put all hands on deck within the business. And so it was like a lot, right, going on. And usually I like to get contractors while I'm in escrow to start going through everything and start dialing stuff in so that we can get a scope of work, because sometimes that takes a little bit of time from your contractors. And also, if anything gets bid kind of crazy, I can get other bids, right? And be able to kind of dial it in. So when we close, we can rock and roll right away. I love working like that. In some of my most successful renovations, it's like we close and I have my guys getting ready to like do demo and everything before we even close and sign docs, which is scary times. But so yeah, at the end of the day, I love to close, get the keys, get signatures, and then rock and roll right away. With this being said, we closed on the 30th. It's the 18th now, and we just started demo yesterday. However, there's some things that I've learned when it comes down to scope of works, building it out properly, and also paying contractors, quality of contractors, right? Because they always say you're going to get three things when it comes down to a contractor. You're going to get either quality, you're going to get price, or you're going to get time. You can't get all three, they say, right? So understand this, like if you're going for, it depends on where you live in America. Like, where is this project? Because over in Ohio, where some of our rental properties, which we are selling. So if anybody's interested, DM me, reach out. Would love to see, like, they all are great cash flowing assets that can be perfect for a beginning real estate investor. But, and some people may ask, just to finish this thought really quick, some people may ask, why are you selling that, Brandon? You know, if it cash flows so well. They do, and I've owned them since like 2015, 10 years now. At the end of the day, I read the book 10x is easier than 2x. And the moral of that book is basically it sums it all up in the 80-20 rule. And so instead of, when I read that book last year, it was very moments of like, I need to get rid of my properties over in Ohio, because as well as it's systemized, it is still a distraction. It's still taking hours and time from me each and every month. And then in addition to our Airbnb stuff, taking time from Jen, we were like, we need to outsource that as well. And so we can start dial in, full attention, our 80% on Credit Counts Elite and other things locally out here in San Diego. Anyway, going back to this. So over in Ohio, we can go for, because prices are cheaper over there, labor is more affordable over there. I'm okay. Like, the mortgages are cheap over there. So the holding cost can be fairly affordable, if you will. But I can't be there. And so therefore, I need somebody that's trustworthy and good quality. So it's not like we have to keep doing it again, because that takes time and that takes money, and that's nonsense. So we want quality, so we do it one time and it's in good shape, and then an affordable price, and then in a timely manner, I can have the other two, and if it takes a little bit longer, that's okay, because it's done right and it's done affordably. Okay. But out here in San Diego, the holding cost, like I said, it adds up, right? It's going to be $12,000 or something for this property. And it's like, stupid me waited 18, 20 days before we actually got guys in here to actually start going. It's like, that's a lot of money for holding costs that I'm not doing anything with. That's just wasting it away. So therefore, it shows you got to move quick. We're looking for time here to get it done fast. But we're also looking for a mixture of quality and then price. And price is very hard out here for the simple fact that it is, we live in San Diego. It's more of an expensive type of location. And so, trying to find good prices can be difficult in some aspects, especially if you want to be more hands-off and deal with a contractor. However, sometimes you got to do more sub work. Like, you got to be the contractor and handle some sub work, because I've done this a few times now, and I've been able to, there's pros and cons to it, right? If you're local, if it's close by, then it may be beneficial to do the sub work if you have the time to babysit, because that's what's going to need to take place. And And if you don't have that time and you're busy working, or like you're dialed in on your business or whatever, you just don't have the time, family, whatever it is, commutes, then you're going to want to rely on somebody that you can trust that can get quality work done. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to pay more of a premium for that. And so it's just something to be aware of at the end of the day. But if I were speaking to my younger self, if you will, because back in 2015, when I started investing in real estate, I was doing it 3,000 miles away. And I had to start building systems, which is really good, honestly. Like, God took care of me in that aspect, because if with my personality type, I would have been more micromanaging. If it was local, I would have been there every 10 seconds, and I would have tried doing some of the work, and that wouldn't have come out well. So it's like, the best way to be able to systemize something and repeat it multiple times is to elevate and delegate and to build systems around it. And so forcing myself to do so 3,000 miles away, I would fly there every 3 to 4 months to build relationships, build systems in place, and try to dial things in. And so after doing that for a year to 2 years, eventually we got to the point where it was every 6 months to a year. And then eventually after that, it was like, I haven't been to Ohio in I don't even know how many years. I don't even know, honestly. It could be 5, it could be more. It's probably longer than that. It's been a while. But we can do everything. We started realizing it's not worth my time to fly over there. I can handle it virtually through a video, through call, because I have good relationships. I have good people that I trust and that are qualified and that can get quality work done. And so at the end of the day, I can just pay to be able to save my time and get things done, right? And build systems around it, elevate and delegate. But speaking to my younger self, back then, I made all the mistakes, every single mistake that a lot of us do as real estate investors. The problem with that was that I initially read all the books, all the podcasts, all the YouTube saying not to do these mistakes, not to give your contractor money up front, not to pay some premium up front, and then, because they'll run off with your money, or that, if they take pictures of things in the house, make sure, like, have somebody go out there, or you go out there, test it, try it, make sure it's actually connected and set up, and it's not just out of the box, taking a picture and put it back in the box and taking it back. It's like unfortunately there's a lot of good people out there in this world. I don't want you to be in a fear mode. However, there's also some bad apples every once in a while too. And people will get away with or take advantage in some cases of certain situations if you allow it, or if you present the opportunity. If their back is against the wall, people will act like animals in some cases. And so you're going to want to just be aware of that and understand and have principles, and also clear expectations and full transparency from the very start. Because if you are very clear from the very start, you guys shake on everything is all good, hunky-dory, you guys sign off on everything, on the scope of work, you guys have it detailed, then if anything gets out of order, or there's exceptions trying to be made halfway through or throughout the process, you could say, no, that's not what we agreed to. And the alarms start going off, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to realize that investors, their mindsets are completely different in many cases from contractors. Not always. I don't want to be judgmental here, and it's not us versus them type of thing. It's just like they are more used to working with their hands and labor. And so it's different, because investors think with their minds and opportunities and how to make things correct. And so it's just two different ways of thinking and learning. And so in those cases, it can be a little bit frustrating and difficult, but I learned all the things. I read all the books, all the podcasts, all the YouTube. I had my list of what not to do. And then once you actually started implementing it hands-on, live in the moment, surprise, surprise, you start making exceptions. I did, at least. I don't know about you, but I started making exceptions. I started making, this is why, and it's like, it was a ridiculous type of situation that I paid I was using my credit cards to liquidate cards into cash, but then I had that liquid cash that I would just give to the contractors and they would run off. Or the next one, my very first renovation, my very first property, we remodeled it. We did the burst strategy. It took over a year when it should have took 60 days max. And it should have took shorter than that, honestly, but it took over a year and we went through 5 contractors and spent 3-4 times the amount that we should have. And I'm lucky for that, just because at the end of the day, the holding costs, I paid cash up front, so there wasn't any holding costs. And I've also, labor was still more affordable over there. But I got beat several times on 5, 6, 7 grand, multiple times, just making ridiculous type of exceptions. And so now I will always pay contractors with a credit card for protection purposes. Okay. For protection purposes, plus you get enough points at the end of the day. It's a nice little pat on the back of congratulations after the renovation. You can go on a free vacation, which is always nice, right? So if your contractor doesn't accept credit cards, teach them how to. Teach them how to. Reach out to me, DM me if you have any questions behind that. I have no problem giving you guidance or even contacts to be able to reach out to, set up a merchant account. And then if you need to negotiate you paying half the fees with them or you paying all the fees, it doesn't matter as long as you get that protection. It's well worth it. Even if it costs you 3%, it's like, if you spend $100 grand for the renovation, it costs you $3,000 for that protection. And then the points offset it if you're using the right, cards to get enough points that it makes perfect sense for the free flights, first class, and the free vacations at the end of the day. It's a no-brainer. But it's also another way to just stay super organized on the overall financial aspect of that project. And a lot of people are paying cash or ridiculous things and aren't keeping it documented as well as they should be. But also, if you have a detailed scope of work and you pay with cash, and things weren't done properly, it's like you can't get that money back. And now it's an honor system. It's a little bit more difficult for that. If it's on a credit card and you have a detailed scope of work before and after pictures and it's not done properly and you try to communicate in full transparency, try to get things dialed in and the contractor just isn't, you guys are butting heads, then now you can have a dispute with your credit card company to have them get the opportunity to defend themselves and say why they believe it should be different. And it's just like a mini court case, but virtually, and it saves time, it saves money, and you get down to the meat and potatoes to fix the problem. And it's only in these rare situations that needs to take place, but it also just comes down to full communication, full transparency. But contractors and investors do think differently in many cases from my experience. With that being said, when I go into a property, this is something I made mistakes on all the time when I first got started. I would go through with a different contractor, like 2-3 contractors, because that's what I was told to do. And I would just let them guide me, saying, oh, well, what would you do here? And so each one would give a different thing that, oh, well, I would do this or I would do this. And it's like, okay, so now when you get all your contracts back, they're all over the place because it's not an apples to apples type of, scope of work. And so no wonder it can be confusing and you just don't know, it's not a good judgment at the end of the day. So now I will always go through the house myself first, room by room, picking it apart of exactly what our plans are, what we're going to do. And then when I bring in contractors, and you should get 2 to 3 or even 4 bids. And if you don't get, if those numbers come back all janky all over the place or just astronomical and you need something even, more juicy or something that could help you with like what you need, then keep searching for more. If you need 5, 6 different quotes behind it for certain tasks, right? But at the end of the day, it's really important to dial your scope of work in first. Like you should journal and know exactly what's going to take place room by room, take pictures, be very crystal clear on what you need. So when you're showing each contractor, each sub, that you're guiding them room by room of what you expect from them and exactly what they're going to do so they can come back with a clear expectations of this is what the scope of work is. And when you get 3 or 4 of them or multiple for that matter, you can judge it properly because it should, be apples to apples at that point. Okay. But I made that mistake in the beginning and now we've gotten to a point where things change as you go forward and things get done because you don't think of everything at first. I still do this to this day and it frustrates me honestly because I should know better. But when you're looking at a big project and you're doing a big facelift everywhere, sometimes it's just so much that you're just like, hey, let's just get to like 80 or 90% of what needs to be done. And then as those things start coming together, you're like, I should probably do this, and this. And so sometimes that will extend and you should be prepared for that. One of the biggest things that truly breaks my heart is when I see investors, especially here in California, because the numbers are so drastic. It's $1 million plus for, the properties out here. When you're taking on that level of risk, you should be going for generous type of rewards, like generous type of profits from that. And I see some people going for just like skimp, 20, 30, 50K max, which sounds like a lot. Like, I don't want to be greedy here. It sounds like a good amount if everything comes out crystal clear, perfect, like you always wished and dreamed of, right? The sad truth is things don't come out that way. I've actually never been a part of a real estate transaction that it came out exactly, like 100% to the T, exactly how I planned it. I've never. And I've done this a few years now. And so it's like, and that could just be me. It could just be me. But from my experience, I've also seen people get their behind handed to them because they've only gone for that $20, $30, $50,000, profits. And then miscellaneous things pop up. Unexpected things, or they got a higher bid, or when they started opening things up, they expose more issues. And it's like, and they didn't budget that. And so with that being said, I always put a hefty chunk of budget for the unexpected because I am notorious for the unexpected. Okay. And I think you should be too. I think you should just plan for that. In addition to that always just like makes me feel very comfortable is I am very greedy. When I say greedy, I mean, I am not going to work for 50,000 or 100,000, even just the peace of mind. And when I say work, I'm not working on these. I'm not doing physical labor on these deals, but I will only pick up a real estate deal if I know with confidence and boldness there is at least $250,000, like $250,000 available on that property. But that's the minimum, but I really want to aim for $500,000. Why? Because we've done it. We've done it numerous times. And so when you see these opportunities, they're out there. You don't need to get greedy and do too many. You just do 1 or 2 of these a year and you're good. And it may take, 3 months to 6 months, but you're in a good position. And so, you want to aim for these big hefty deals because it gives you more flexibility if something happens, if the market happens, if the, unexpected things, if issues take place, if the city comes right, like anything, if your minimum was 250,000 profit, you should be taking home at the bare bones minimum, then, if all hell breaks loose, that would have to be $250,000 of hell, absolute hell to come down to be able to mess up this deal, when we're aiming for 500,000. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it gives you more flexibility, it gives you more freedom. And it's something that absolutely breaks my heart when I see so many people trying to pick up 2, 3, 4 deals a month or a quarter. And they're going for these little tiny profits because they feel the need, like they have to, because they got to eat and everything. They always, from my experience, what I've seen, those individuals end up getting their behind handed to them. And it absolutely breaks my heart. Okay. Understand this, when you get 3 to 4 quotes, and I was talking about, that you're getting 3 things, or you're aiming for three things, but you can't get all. You're only going to get two out of the three. It's either going to be money, quality of work, like the price of the job, quality of the work, or timing, right? And so please know this. You get what you pay for, okay? And so sometimes cheap isn't always the best way. And I hate those learning lessons, but sometimes out here in San Diego, because the price is so high and like holding costs are so high. And luckily, like Mexico is close by, and there's a lot of like Mexican community here that, you know, we can find decent workers that can move fast, that can ideally get it for an affordable rate. But it's not always. You got to find the quality ones that can like truly get good work done, up the code, and like, you know, and knock things out. And so sometimes you just got to follow your gut and like your heart and pray on it too. You know, at the end of the day, I've worked with people that I didn't trust. I didn't have faith in them. If I was judging them from a book type of thing, I wouldn't have. I don't know what the hell I was doing, and because I didn't have a good feeling. But sometimes you still do those stupid things, and you just pray that it works out properly. Especially when, you know, the pricing behind it, it can be 50 or like, you know, 60% off from the others. Just know you're going to pay with your time, and the fear within the mind of like, are these guys going to screw me? Are there going to be issues? How do I protect myself? All those things, right? And so that's some pieces behind it that you're definitely going to want to keep in mind and make sure that you're not, that it's worth your time if you have it. If you don't, I recommend getting a contractor and just get several bids, right? And try to make sure that these guys can do it all, and that they're not like a contractor that's subbing it out to a bunch of different subs, because that can take longer as well. I just got a quote the other day from it, but the contractor license was going to just get one sub at a time. And sometimes that's, you know, now we have to wait on each sub to get done before we call them up saying, hey, we are ready now. And that could take an extra 1 to 2 weeks, you know, just from tightening little things up. And so from each sub, and that just adds up, and it messes up time frames, right? Overall, I wanted to give kind of the high level in order, because I've had this question asked to me a lot. Okay, Brandon, what should I focus on first when I'm doing a scope of work and what I'm kind of working on here? Obviously, you jump in and we're talking demo first, right? Then we're talking framing, electrical, plumbing. And electrical and plumbing, it's going to be rough. Rough versus finish. So rough is going to be like the stuff behind the walls, and it's not the light fixtures, you know, the vanity bathroom light fixtures just yet. That's going to be finishes, you know, like the electrical plugs, but not the covers and so forth, things like that, right? Or like the wires, you know, run through. So we got demo, we got framing, we got electrical and plumbing, all rough, and then HVAC, so that they can, you know, still keep everything intact because they're going to have to go through walls and so forth and all that fun stuff. Afterwards, then it's drywall, which, you know, includes mud, sand, paint, multiple times if needed. And then you're jumping into paint. Now, at this point, you can either do windows after the painting, or you can do windows first. It just depends on you. We typically do windows first because I like to torture my guys. So they have to do more, so that they have to do more prep for the painting. But no, that's just a joke. It's just whatever's convenient at the end of the day. And so whatever kind of comes first. But yeah, once windows and paint are done, then we're talking about flooring, tiles for the bathrooms and so forth, as well as like kitchen cabinets, vanities, all the finish stuff, start buttoning things up. And then lastly, you know, all the finishes as far as like coming back to electrical finishes, you know, the lights, can lights, vanity lights, little bathroom, you know, towel holders, things like that. All of that stuff is, if you do it in that order, you can save yourself time from going back and forth, because sometimes I've had this happen numerous times as well. And it's very frustrating when, you know, we get done all those things, except I left HVAC towards the end. So it's like, We already did painting. We already did flooring. And now we have to go back and start. HVAC is going to start opening up walls in the drywall. Now we have to go back, drywall it, mud, paint, sand. It's just a pain, right? And so you don't want to do things like that because it can just be super annoying at the end of the day. And it costs more and in time, labor, and materials at the end of the day. So if you just do it smartly in a certain order, it's going to set you up for success. And honestly, you can come in ignorant and not knowing anything and just ask a lot of questions to these contractors of like, how does it go? Do you have a scope of work that I could see or use, or like start taking notes with you? Just be fully transparent and wanting to learn, and all that stuff can really serve you and bless you in many ways, because people want to teach, people want to guide, people want to support you. Just make sure it's good people that you're talking to, right? Also knowing like some people will do everything all in total, like labor and materials, or you can charge separately. Like you cover the materials, they cover you cover both labor and materials, but it's separate, right? And so it will look more affordable, but then maybe if they're buying materials at Home Depot and they're just getting willy-nilly like a bunch of random stuff, maybe they're going to be aggressive with it. And then who's taking back that extra stuff? Are you taking it back? Are you even getting it? Are they taking it back? Are they going to use it for their next job? Or are they going to take it back and get, free gift cards from it with your money? So you just got to understand their personality type of who that is. And also, if you do decide to do labor and materials, I recommend rough materials the contractor handle. Or you can pay with a credit card at Home Depot, but it comes out of their overall amount that you are paying them, right? So rough materials you can pay for, they can pay for, right? But the finishing materials is going to be like something that you want to pick out anyway. Like you want your style of thing. So if you make them include it in their quote and they have to pick it up and so forth, they're potentially going to put just an extra premium on it because they have to spend time and energy and efforts to kind of orchestrate all that. And so if you can just dial in all the tile, materials, all the things that you need, then you can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, your cabinet place or whatever, order it, and even just spend a couple bucks to get it delivered to the property for you guys, which would be great, or have your crew go and pick it up. I do recommend being there just because sometimes Home Depot or Lowe's, it can be a pain in the ass. So have that stuff ready so they can just pick it up right away, quick, easy, simplified, and they can get back to work, rocking and rolling. That is, in my opinion, the best way to do it. I've done a bunch of these. I've made a ton of mistakes. And over the years, this is what I would say has been able to help. And honestly, just praying over your home, praying over the situation, it starts feeling good when you start going through things. When you do the demo, even just yesterday, like when we started doing the demo, usually I like it, but like when I got there and I saw all the tile up, the tile I was like a little iffy on because it looks nice. It was like classy, but some areas it was like reddish pink. And we knew that if we start remodeling all this other tile in the kitchen and cabinets and fireplace, then it would just look different. It would look weird on with the flooring. But I told the guys to take it up. But once I got there and saw it, I was like, it's definitely coming up, and anyway, so it's just one of those things, but it is awesome. There's also a piece of this that people ask me when they're doing, how do we decide which rooms to open up? Kitchens and, living rooms and so forth. How do we decide that? So it always comes down to if you can open up living rooms and kitchens, people love the open concept. They love that. So you just look at the walls and is there excessive here? Is it needed? Can we open up the hallway more? If you can add a bathroom, if there's not enough, then people love that as well. It brings more value to your property as well. So it's a bunch of just cool things that you can do. So anyway, I think that's enough for my rant today. I hope this helps. I hope this makes sense. If you're building out a scope of work, take this stuff to heart, because if you do it right, you can protect yourself, you can get rewards, you can have full communication, full transparency with your contractors, because you guys went through this multiple times. You have your dialed in info, you're getting apples to apples type of bids back from people. You can go to Home Depot early in the morning, 5, 6 in the morning when people are starting to get there. You can see who's the early bird that gets the worm type of thing that's working their butts off, or even going, late the night before, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. at night, to see who are the guys stocking up a bunch for the next day. All these things can really serve you and set you up for success. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, also one more thing, always do your best to try to find referrals. But when I say a referral, try to use a referral from somebody that actually uses this contractor or sub regularly. If they don't use them regularly and it's just like a one-time use in the past and it was a little bit of money, or it was, a friend of a friend type of thing, it's not strong enough of a relationship. Okay, so that person, that contractor is not going to feel morally obligated to really serve you the way that you need them to. When I say a referral, I'm talking about somebody that has done a lot of work with them, that spends a lot of money with them, that the contractor feels almost morally obligated to serve you because this person that they work with all the time, connected you guys. So they're like, okay, to keep this guy happy, I got to go serve this person really quick. Also, if shit ever hits the fan and there's issues or anything, or lack of transparency, lack of communication, it's like at the end of the day, they don't want to let that referral down and they want to get more referrals from that person. So they're going to do right by you. Also, just because contractors and investors think completely differently in many cases, the contractor isn't always wrong. Sometimes it's your ignorance because you don't do this every day. It's not, it is your first rodeo versus theirs. And so try to be fair across the board. Don't get taken advantage of, because that is more common, but don't be a douchebag either, and be fair about certain circumstances, and don't be too aggressive. I like to put a reward and as well as sometimes a pain point. I don't always do this, but in the beginning I would, especially because I wanted to get things done timely, on time. I don't want them to rush. I don't want them to cut corners. But if it can get done timely, if they say it's going to take 2 weeks, I'll say, cool. If you can get it done in 2 weeks and 3 days, I'll give you 3 extra days. If you can get it done within that time frame, then I'll give you a bonus. And then they're like, cool, awesome, let it be done. And then, however, if it takes longer than that, there's also going to be a consequence behind it. There's going to be fees coming out of it. And so usually they don't like that, right? But just make sure that I wouldn't do that unless you understand truly how long this type of task or project will take. Okay. And just be super clear and transparent with it. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions or want to chat about this, just reach out to us. Would be honored to serve you at any capacity with this. If you haven't already checked out creditcounselelite.com, what are you waiting for? We're teaching people nationwide how to get up to $500,000. That's you. I'm teaching you how to get up to $500,000 in new funding with interest rates as low as 0%. This can be done every 6 months when done properly, right? You have the potential to do this every 6 months, and it's per person, which is cool. And so with interest rates as low as 0% and up to 500K, you got nothing to lose and so much to gain. So you can stop missing out on opportunities passing you by, and you can start taking down real estate deals your damn self. Okay, so reach out, go to creditcounselelite.com as creditcounselelite.com. There's a quick 5-minute video on there that explains more, also helps answer some of your questions. And then afterwards, you'll probably have more questions to ask. So we'll give you a complimentary, totally free 30-minute call with either myself or somebody on our team to go over your particular situation. Sit down with our assessment coaches to really understand where you're currently at and where you're looking to go. And if we can give you a roadmap on how to get there on your own, great, let's go. If not, we can even just talk to you about what it looks like to work with us if you decide to sometime in the future. So nothing to lose, so much to gain. And I pray that you take action on that so you can make 2025 your best year yet. And love you guys all so much. If you have any projects, reach out to me. I want to hear about it. I want to hear about your scope of work, see if I missed anything. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Till next time, God bless. Peace out.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.